Okay, so here we are, and now we are talking about mapping the hoof capsule in order to determine if it is correctly fitting the internal foot. But what we're going to do here is first we're going to map the external foot so you can see its dimensions and how it's supposed to be. And then we will map a hoof capsule so you can see how you can take that and transfer it over and apply it so that when you trim, you are either doing maintenance or corrective trimming, because what you are doing, you are maintaining that hoof capsule and you are getting it to grow correctly and form fitted to this foot perfectly so that it can support, protect, and stabilize the whole back of this foot and the cartilage, of course, and the interior, the coffin bone as well. Now, before I go on, I want to make a statement here that there is a great debate as to whether the coffin bone sits at a positive angle or sits flat. Now, let me explain what that means. You might hear people talking about how, oh, the coffin bone has to be ground parallel. This is what they mean, that the coffin bone sits like this. And the people that make this statement, the way that they came up with this idea was taking a bone out of the foot and setting it on a table and then saying it has to sit that way in the foot, okay? And then so they're going to tell you different ways that you can get the bone to do this inside of this capsule here, okay? And one way they do that is they took and they measured the angle from here to here, and it was 30 on a front foot. It's 30 degrees. On a back foot, it's a little steeper. And so then they transfer that over to trimming like that, and they say, okay, well, then you have to get a hairline. See, right here would be the hairline. Okay, they say you have to get a hairline that is 30 degrees like this, because look at how this bone is. But I want you to remember something. I want you to remember that the coffin bone is not the full foot, is it? Where does it fit? Look at it. Clear up there. What about the heels? What about all this back here? What's back here? Cartilage and fat. Is not that correct? Okay, now I can look at the coffin bone in this foot, and I can tell that the back of it is setting up at an angle right here, and it is pointing downwards, that it is not setting flat in the foot. And I will tell you that when this coffin bone is set inside the foot, see, you should never just take a part out and throw it on a table somewhere and say, well, it ought to be over here or there. Okay, you have to consider the fact that this bone is inside this foot, and that this bone actually does not set like that. This bone actually sets in the foot itself at an angle like that. And what you find is, remember, all of this is cartilage. It's surrounded by cartilage. The sole corium that surrounds the very edge here is cartilage right here. All the heel, everything cartilage. So what you find is that when you take these feet apart, is that the cartilage gets thicker from here back to here, setting the coffin bone in the foot at an angle. So here's what happens then. People come along, they say, well, that coffin bone has set in that foot like that, and to get it that way, you need to cut the heels so that you have a 30-degree hairline. Well, first of all, the hairline sitting in the foot is not at 30 degrees anyway. Okay? And so, if you come along and you cut this capsule, this hairline here, at 30 degrees, and this is done, you should Google this, 30-degree hairline hoof. Okay, and what you'll find is, in order to get this to go down to 30 degrees like that, that they have to cut off this much heel. And when they cut off this much heel, okay, I'm going to show you where that winds up. It would wind up right here. You're cutting that heel right down to the very sole of the internal foot. That's what you're doing. So you wind up having no sole in the heels of your foot at all. So that is what getting this hairline to go down like this does. Okay, so again, you know, all these trims, these barefoot trims are supposed to be based on the wild horse model, right? Well, there are different wild horse models. And the model that you need to base yours on is the one that is on Pete Ramey's page. Now, I do not endorse his trim. Okay? I don't endorse anybody's trim. Unless they're doing an anatomically correct trim and it is based on this foot and they understand the whole back of this foot and how this hoof capsule is supposed to support it and how much heel it's supposed to have. They can call their trim anything they want. If they know that, then I support it. Okay? But I do not support Pete Ramey's trim. But I do support his examples of 2 wild horse feet, which you can find on his website. One is one that a lady sent him that trims the heels totally out of the foot. Okay, she happened to get a wild foot and send it to him. It came from Oregon, from the high desert there, I think. And that foot is absolutely awesome. You'll be given a link to be able to go to those pages and look at it. I don't want to put it in these videos because I don't even want to attempt fair use with that foot because, as I said, I am not supporting his trim because he is now trimming the heels out of the horse. Okay, so I believe, maybe I shouldn't say that, but it's not just him. They're all doing it. They're all doing it. They're all trimming the heels out of the horse. And once you understand this, you're going to see how it's done. And hopefully maybe they'll see too and quit this practice. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, nice people. Nobody does it on purpose. But everybody's been trimming way too much heel out of these horses and not realizing that as they do so, they're deforming the whole back of the foot. Okay, so hopefully we'll quit this practice because it goes on in farriery as well. Indiscriminate trimming of the heels without having a real thorough understanding to the back of this foot trims the heels out. Since the heel and all this is attached to the cartilage, it also pulls all this down and under the foot and strips the frog out of the foot. Okay, but we weren't really going to get into that. I was going to get into hoof mapping, and we were going to map this foot. We're at 8 minutes now. Okay, so the one thing that we like to do in mapping the foot is get a handle on the toe and get a handle on the heels, especially. All right, and so you're going to determine if your heels are correct, but you're also going to determine if your toe is correct, because you can only have so much hoof wall beyond the edge of this foot before it becomes a lever and starts ripping the wall away and tearing the lamina right here. See? Look there. That shows you where your wall should be on this dorsal toe wall here. See there? See how when the wall grows, see there? That's how it grows. Grows a little bit forward like that. Okay, now if you get too much wall, then it starts to do that. Okay, now since it's attached to the sole right here, remember, the wall grows from here down to almost to the end right there where it joins up with the sole, and then they grow down to the ground together, and you should have about 3/4 to an inch of sole. You shouldn't have any more, and to have any less gets your horse more tender-footed. And so it's got to be perfect, a perfect form fit there. And you see how it grows forward. You wouldn't want your toe any more forward than that. Okay, see, that's called breakover right there. Okay, break over. All right, so what happens is if the wall gets too long, it starts to rip away like this. See there? You don't want that. And plus, since the sole it's attached to the sole under here, if it pulls the sole out like this, then you got the edge of the bone, the coffin bone here, and the edge of the foot sitting on flat ground. It's not supposed to sit on flat ground. It's supposed to sit, okay, the wall comes down like this. Okay, let's pretend this is the wall right here. See that? That wall and sole there, they form a V-like shape that surrounds this coffin bone, or this foot, the perimeter of this foot, so that this foot is always like this and is never on a flat surface. See there? See, like that? Never on a flat surface, always formed fit. And so there's this little bit of give in this little V. You see right between where my thumb and my finger meet there? There's just a little bit of room there. And because of that cartilage, all right, and that keeps the shape of this bone and this foot all the way around just perfectly. Okay, that's the fit. But when you have a flare, or the wall gets long and pulls out, then it sets the edge of this bone on a flat surface, and that's where you get coffin bone remodeling and deformation of the foot. We don't want that. Okay.